O Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Akhandam Satchidanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanam Akhiladharam Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye Arthato Pyadvayanandan Atitadvaita Bhanatah Gurunaradhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. Hari Om. In the last session, we had seen the 14 worlds which are formed from Panchikruta Panchamahabhuta. The purpose of discussing the 14 worlds was our idea of Jagat should expand a little. You know, Jagat, generally we feel the surrounding around me, you know, me, my house, and my compound, that becomes Jagat sometimes. Little bit more, then we might see the country. Little bit more, we might see the whole planet. But when Vedanta talks about Jagat, Shastras talk about Jagat, they talk about all 14 worlds. All of that is included. 7 worlds which are higher worlds, 7 worlds which are lower worlds. And Jiva goes across all these 14 worlds based upon karma. Whichever karma that Jiva has done, for that Jiva to get specific karma phala, a specific loka is needed. But the whole purpose was, one should ask whether I want such a transmigration or do I want moksha here and now. Okay, that was the main question. The description is not to prompt us to go make it as a goal. Sometimes you have vacation destinations, right? They don't describe it for vairagya. They describe it so that we can go there. But whenever Swarga description is given, it is not for that purpose. It is for a sadhaka to become more thoughtful. That was one part. And after that, we saw that 8.7 million species are divided into 4 categories. Jarayuja, Andaja, Swedaja, and Udbhija. Born from a womb, born from an egg. Then moisture is Swedaja and Udbhija is from the ground. Now, why did we discuss all this classification and so many things? This Manushya Janma is very, very rare. Having a human form is very rare, one should accomplish the goal in this human form here and now. Some echoes come from some other class. Kenopanishad we saw, Iha cheda vedit ata satyam asti. Upanishad Rishi says, staying in this human body, if one accomplishes the goal, everything is good for that person. Iha ched avedit atha satyam asti. Everything is good as far as spiritual goal is concerned and secular goal is concerned. That meaning also we saw. Nache dihavedin mahati vinashtihi. If one doesn't gain this supreme knowledge, one doesn't come to abide in the self in this birth, then there is a great loss for that person. Mahati vinashtihi. Now, what is the loss? Bhagavan Shankaracharya said, when this person will get a human body again is very uncertain. Imagine the probability. 8.7 million species, human form is one of them. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitta dhiraha pretya asmat lokat amrutaha bhavanti. Means one who recognizes that oneself in each and every jiva, each and every part of this creation, one who understands that oneself and understands that this creation is mithya. Both you should understand. Not that there is one consciousness and it is slowly spreading across all creation. This is creation is an appearance in this consciousness. If I think it is mixed up, if I think that consciousness and creation is mixed up, that is called as adhyasa. Superimposing what is not on what is. That is called as adhyasa. One who is able to remove this adhyasa, pretya asmat lokat amrutaha bhavanti. That person becomes immortal. One who understands nature of consciousness as it is and nature of superimposition as it is. He doesn't have to do anything physical, just to bring this knowledge in his understanding. All texts are, very complementing. If we read one portion here, a lot of things open up in Kenopanishad. Today also we will see, when we see presiding deities, whatever we saw in those mantras of Upasana in Kenopanishad, all of that is helpful. Yan manasana manute, yena hur manomatam, yat chakshushana pashyati, yena chakshumchi pashyati. All those mantras, whatever Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji wrote, it will help us understand this portion in Vedantasara, where the presiding deities part, they are discussed. Let us chant after 112th verse. And the last topic we had seen was 111 and 112, where Swamiji said, this totality of Sthula Sharira, it gets the name of Virat. Consciousness conditioned by total Sthula Sharira gets the name Virat or Vaishvanaraha, because it is appearing in different ways. That is why it is called as Virat, Vividam Rajamanatvat. Or it is called Vaishvanaraha because Sarva Nara Abhimanitvat. So Bhagwan has Abhimana in each and every part of creation. Now Abhimana doesn't mean pride. Abhimana means identification. Just like I have identification with each and every part of this body, Bhagwan has identification with each and every part of this creation. And we saw the symbolism of Murti Puja. That same Virat, Bhagwan, we are taking one part of creation and worshipping that, invoking totality in that one part. Karma Yoga Siddhanta, all of those things, the seed lies over here only. Okay. Now, Samashti we saw, let us come to Vyashti. This one is more familiar to us. 113. Etad Vyashti Upahitam Chaitanyam. Etad Vyashti Upahitam Chaitanyam. Vishwa ityuchyate. Vishwa ityuchyate. Sukshma Sharira Abhimanam. Sukshma Sharira Abhimanam. Aparityajya. Aparityajya. Sthula Shariradi Pravishtatvat. Sthula Shariradi Pravishtatvat. Asya api esha vyashtihi. Asya api esha vyashtihi. Sthula Shariram. Sthula Shariram. Anna Vikaratvat. Anna Vikaratvat. Eva. Eva. Hetoho. Hetoho. Annamaya kosho. Annamaya kosho. Jagrad iti cha uchyate. Jagrad iti cha uchyate. All these are Visarga Sandhi and Ach Sandhis. Sanskritam class students. We look at 114. Hetor Annamaya kosho. Hetor Annamaya kosho. Ra came, right? So which Sandhi would this be? You can type it also. Hetor Annamaya kosho. Hetoho Annamaya kosha. So how did Hetoho become Hetor Annamaya kosha? Very good. This is Buddhir Balam Sandhi. Right? Because before Visarga, you have a vowel different from a, ich. And after Visarga is ash. It can be a vowel or a soft consonant. So that Visarga became Ra. Buddhir Balam. Very good. All got it right, whoever answered. 113. Etad Vyashti Upahitam Chaitanya. This consciousness which is conditioned by individual Sthula Sharira, Vyashti Sthula Sharira, that consciousness gets the name Vishwa. Vishwa. Now you might wonder, I thought Vishwa is name of world. Vedantasara says no. All our names are Vishwa only. Jiva in waking state has only one name. What is that? Vishwa. But for transaction purposes, we need to have different names. Right? Otherwise, everybody having the same name, lot of chaos and vyavahara. But if you just take Chaitanya standpoint, Chaitanya conditioned with Sthula Sharira has only one name, that is Vishwa. Now, why is it called Vishwa? Because this Sthula Sharira, it is the counter for my interaction with the world. Only when I am identified with Sthula Sharira can I interact with Vishwa outside. When we sleep, do we remove one connection with all things that are there in the world? Or do we just remove one connection with physical body? Identification with physical body is dissolved, world is dissolved. That is why consciousness conditioned by Sthula Sharira gets the name Vishwa. When this Vishwa is as though making this conditioned consciousness meet the world. Conditioned consciousness minus the world becomes Taijasa. Right? In dream state, there is no physical world outside, but conditioned consciousness is there. But if that conditioned consciousness has to meet the world, I need a physical body. Okay, so that is why it gets the name Vishwa. Iti uchyate sukshma sharira abhimanam aparityajya. What is the uniqueness of Vishwa? In waking state, it has not let gone of abhimana with sukshma sharira. It has not let gone of its identification with sukshma sharira. What about karana sharira? Has it let gone or is it there? It is there. Karana sharira is there, sukshma sharira is there, and sthula sharira is there. What is the tarka? What is the logic to say that in waking state, identification with dream, identification with sukshma, subtle, and karana is still there? Aparityajya is said, right? The logic is, in waking state, we can remember dream. In waking state, we can remember deep sleep. Why? Because abhimanam is still there. Hmm? Try the opposite. In dream state, can we remember waking? Consciously, huh? Impressions come in that we have no control. But while we are in dream, we cannot remember waking state. So how will you say in Vedantasara language? In dream state, sthula sharira abhimana tyaga has happened. In dream state, sthula sharira abhimana tyaga has happened. But in waking state, sthula sharira abhimana is there, sukshma sharira abhimana is there, and karana sharira abhimana is also there. Gross, subtle, causal. Sometimes when you use Sanskrit word, it looks like, oh, too many things are there. It's very simple. Gross body identification, subtle body identification, and causal body identification. All three are there in waking state. Abhimanam aparityajya. Sukshma shariram, you cannot take and give up. Huh? Only abhimana we can take and give up. Even in dream state, we should not say sthula shariram parityajya. In dream state, sthula sharira abhimanam parityajya it is. Only identification is given up. Body is there in the same place. Okay. Sthula shariradi pravishtatvat. Having kept this abhimana of sukshma, this consciousness becomes aware. Consciousness becomes as though entered in sthula sharira. That is why it gets the name Vishwa. That is this line. Then 113 verse, Vyashti Upahita Chaitanya. Okay. The name of conditioned consciousness is Vishwa. In all places we have seen this. Swamiji talks about Vyashti Upahita Chaitanya and then Vyashti Upadhi. He will talk about Samashti Upahita Chaitanya and Samashti Upadhi. So 113 was Vyashti Upahita Chaitanya. Conditioned consciousness got these titles. Now Vyashti Upadhi, the individual conditioning, Asya api esha Vyashtihi. Of this Vyashti Upadhi, Sthula Shariram Anna Vikaratvat Eva Hetoho Annamaya kosha. So this Vyashti Upadhi, which is Sthula Sharira, our individual physical body, Anna Vikaratvat, because it is a modification of food, it is called as Annamaya kosha. Annamaya means modification. Mayat pratyaya has two meanings. One is modification, another is full of. Mayat, one meaning is modification, second is full of. Now if you say Anandamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha, so what is Anandamaya? So Mayat there means it is full of Ananda. Full of Ananda. So Annamaya also you can say it is full of, right? Because what is there in this body other than food? Right? So it is full of Annam. And it is also called as kosha. Why is it called as kosha? Because it hides. You remember the example, the scabbard was there, it hides the sword. Like that, this kosha hides. What does it hide? Annamaya kosha, what does it hide? You can type also. Huh? Vedantasara has to be a little interactive. It hides all other koshas. Okay, that is one way to look at it. What else does it hide? It hides consciousness. It hides sukshma sharira. It hides this fact that I am unconditioned consciousness, Brahma. Yes. Annamaya kosha takes so much attention that I forget this fact that I am Anupahita Chaitanya. I am unconditioned consciousness. That fact is taken away because of this covering of Annamaya kosha. Now, can Annamaya kosha, which is finite, really hide Atma? Right? Because Annamaya kosha is Vyashti. It is product of, Maya. It comes much below the order of creation. Right? So how did this Annamaya kosha become so powerful that it went to hide Atma? It is just like saying the cloud is hiding the sun. Right? So what does this, Annamaya kosha hide? It only clouds my thinking. So it hides my buddhi, or it hides the knowledge in my buddhi. Only that much it has accomplished. And that is good enough. Whole life to keep us busy, it is good enough. Whole life to keep us discontented. To keep us discontent, this part is sufficient. So Goswamiji, when he described the samudra, the ocean in Vinaya Patrika, he gave the symbolic meaning of what this ocean is. Right? That portion we know, right? In Sundarakand, just before Hanumanji goes to Lanka, everybody says what is their strength. Angadji says, I can go, I cannot come back, and so on. So Goswamiji says, Kunapa Abhimana Sagara Bhayankara Ghor. What is this ocean? He says, Kunapa Abhimana. Kunapa Abhimana means this notion that I am this body. That is this Mahasagara. It is Vishala. It is so big. Agaha Dustara Aghor. It is so deep that you cannot, just cross it anyhow. You need the boat of Bhagwan's devotion. And then he says, what are the other people who are there? Ravana, who is there, he says, Moha Dashamauli. Ravana is Dashamauli, the one with 10 heads. He is Moha. Moha means delusion, some kind of erroneous thought, thinking that I am stronger than Bhagwan. I will figure out things on my own. I don't need Bhagwan. I don't need anybody else. He says that is Moha. Then comes his brother, Tad Bhrata Ahankara. So that is Kumbhakarna. So Kumbhakarna represents Ahankara, this pride that comes, all of that coming from Kunapa Abhimana. Thinking that I am this body, from that came delusion, from that came this Ahankara. And the last one he says, Paka Arijita Kama Vishramahari. Pakarijita. Pakarijita means Indrajit. His son Indrajit represents Kama. So he constantly keeps sending arrows, which can make even somebody like Lakshmanji unconscious. So Lakshmanji is symbolic of Vairagya. Okay. The main point here is, we should not say that Jnani doesn't have Deha. So Jnani doesn't have Deha Abhimana. That is the main point here. Asyapi Esha Vyashti Sthula Shariram Anna Vikaritvat Eva Hetoho Annamaya Kosha. Although body is called Annamaya Kosha, it is only hiding our infinitude. Right? So body per se is not a problem. Thinking me to be this body, that is the problem. Okay. So now comes a very beautiful part in Vedantasara. It will open up many things which probably didn't become clear in Tattva Bodha. At least for me it did. Okay. The precision in words, that is what we have to pay attention. But before we go there, there is some technical concept. If we just overview, it's helpful. In Vedanta, what are we trying to do? We are trying to abide in our own true nature as pure consciousness. Not only our nature, but even when we see the world. I start my journey seeing the world as name and form. Jada. Inert matter. That is how I look at this world. At the most, if I do some more inquiry, I come to know that these names and forms are nothing but 5 elements. But what is my goal? To see this creation as Chaitanya. To see this creation as Chaitanya. Shuddha Swarupa Brahma. That is what is this entire world. Now from seeing this creation as Jada to seeing this creation as Chaitanya, it cannot be a sudden leap. Okay? So there has to be an intermediate step where I see this creation as conditioned consciousness. So this part of conditioned consciousness is the part of Adhidaiva. Adhidaiva means this entire creation has a presiding deity over this inert world. And that presiding deity is sentient. It is not some another inert entity. It is a sentient thing. So how many elements are there in this creation? 5 elements. Space, air, fire, water, earth. So in our Vedas it is said, each element has a presiding deity. Space has its own presiding deity. Air, fire, Agni Devata, or Surya Bhagwan you say. Water, Varuna Bhagwan. And then earth, we'll come to the technical part. Different names are given. But earth generally we say Bhudevi. Bhudevi is there. That's why we have prayers also. Right? Padasparsham Kshamaswamam. Early in the morning, when we put our foot on the ground, we ask for forgiveness. Because she is mother. And every act becomes divine. Taking a shower, we chant Ganga Stotram. So this is not just water, it is Ganga Devi. So behind every inert matter, there is a sentient presiding deity. If this vision we can bring, entire creation becomes divine. Entire creation becomes divine. And this is the intermediate step before going to the final one, where we say entire creation is of the nature of consciousness. So that leap will not happen if we don't go to this intermediate step. What is the intermediate step? Just recognizing this point that this creation is presided by Devatas, who are sentient and who have powers to bless. But if Devatas are there, why can't I see them? Why can't I see Devatas who are there? We say we can see them, but the method of seeing is different. Method of seeing is Upasana, not some instrument. Right? Through Upasana, we can have Sakshatkara of a Devata. There was one Babaji, used to live on a hillock in Gangaji. Maharaji would take his name, Mokalpur Baba, he would say. And he would be very cut off from the world, just living on that hillock, just having a small little kutia, doing his own sadhana and tapasya. He would say very openly that I have had darshan of Gangaji so many times. Because throughout the day, that is his upasana. Just looking at Mother Ganga and tuning his mind to Divine Mother. Devata Sakshatkara can happen if we have that question, right? If Devata is there, why can't I see? We should remember method is different. Not using the wrong method to find something which cannot be seen through that. Our own thoughts we cannot know through instruments. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right? Thoughts are sukshma. You say neurons are firing. That is only a physical body level. The thought or the emotion which is there, that is sukshma. It cannot be known through an instrument. Right? So Devata also cannot be known through an instrument. It is known through Upasana. That desire should be there, which will deepen our devotion. Right? So many things we want to see. One desire should be, Bhagwan, I want to see you also. In a particular form, make my devotion so strong. Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji's one student was Padmapadacharyaji. And there is a story that comes in his life where he goes and debates with some tantrikas. And through tantra, they put some spell on Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji. And he doesn't know, because he's so engrossed in that discussion, he doesn't know that this tantra has been put on him. Padmapadacharyaji, through his devotion, he invokes his Ishtadevata Narsimha Bhagwan. He comes and saves Bhagwan Shankaracharyaji. I mean, that was their tuning. That if they want Devata to come, Devata will come. So that is one part. Okay. Now this was more applied. If you want a technical word for it, the inert matter which is there outside is called Adhibhuta. Inert matter is called Adhibhuta. Sentient principle presiding over inert matter is called as Adhidaiva. Sentient principle, the Devata presiding over that matter is called as Adhidaiva. So this is where we have Gangaji presiding over Ganga river. Pavana Devata presiding over wind. So he is father of Hanumanji. Gangaji is mother of Bhishma. So this is called as Adhidaiva. Okay. And what is remaining now? Third one is Adhyatma. Those things where I have I notion. Those things wherever I have I notion, that is called as Adhyatma. Adhyatma doesn't mean Atma. Adhi is there, right? Adhi plus Atma means something is there on top of Atma. So Adhyatma is not directly Atma. Adhyatma means wherever I have I notion. Starting from physical body, come to sense organs, come to mind, come to ahankara, go all the way up till karana sharira, vasanas, or what we call as swabhava. Starting from deha till swabhava, in all these things I have I notion. Right? I say these are my vasanas. Right? So wherever I have I notion, that is called as Adhyatma. 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan says, Swabhavaha Adhyatma Uchyate. So what is Adhyatma? He says Swabhava is called as Adhyatma. You should understand starting from body all the way until Swabhava. Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, all of that is part of Adhyatma. Okay, 3 things we saw. Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva and Adhyatma. So before we enter this verse, I would encourage all of you to write these 3 things, in simple 3 rows. Okay. First, you write the 5 elements. You can write, because this will get confusing otherwise. 115th verse. It is very simple, but you just have to graphically map it. There are no slides, so you should note it on your own. So first row is Adhyatma. First row is Adhyatma. So there you can write the 5 organs of perception. Okay, the first one is ear. Second is skin, right in the same order. Ear, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose. Okay. Ear, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose. Done? So this row is Adhyatma. Now you check whether it matches our definition or not. Wherever I have I notion, that is called as Adhyatma. So here we are taking only sense organs. Although you can start from Deha all the way till Swabhava, but right now we are taking only sense organs. There I have I notion. So that is called as Adhyatma. Now leave the second row blank. Come to the third row. Okay, third row is called Adhibhuta. Third row is Adhibhuta. So they're corresponding to every sense organ. You will have one thing from this creation that it is grasping. Okay, so what will ears grasp? Shabda, sound. Ears are grasping sound. What about skin? So that will grasp sparsha, touch. Okay, shabda, sparsha. Eyes will grasp rupa, form. Eyes will grasp form. Tongue will grasp rasa, taste. Okay, tongue will grasp taste. And nose will grasp gandha, smell or fragrance. Shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. So this adhyatma which is there, it has to go and interact with these 5 objects now. Now these 5 objects are adhibhuta and 5 sense organs are adhyatma. The one which accomplishes the meeting of adhyatma with adhibhuta is called as Adhidaiva. Okay? The one who governs the meeting of adhyatma with adhibhuta, the sense organs with their respective sense objects, that is called as Adhidaiva. Now you see the presiding deities of each connection. The first one is ears interacting with sound. The presiding deity is Digdevata. Okay, so second row you start filling. First one is Digdevata. For skin sense organ, the presiding deity is Vayu Devata or Pavana Devata, you say. Vayu Bhagwan is the presiding deity. He governs the interaction of Adhyatma with Adhibhuta. The interaction of skin sense organ with that sense object of touch. Third one is eyes. So presiding deity is Surya Bhagwan, sun god. He is the presiding deity. We'll reflect upon it. This we are just writing it first. And for tongue, the presiding deity is Varuna Bhagwan, Varuna Devata. When Sandeepany Rishi's son was lost in Bhagavatam, or in Bhagavatam the story comes that Sandeepany Rishi's son was lost. His wife, Bhagwan, asks, what should I give as Guru Dakshina? His wife tells him, go and find my son back. Bhagwan straight away goes to Varun Bhagwan. It is said he was taken away by Varun Devata. That is where he goes. So that same Varun, same you will find in Puranas. All of them come. And last one is nose, which is Ashwini Kumaras. Ashwini Kumaras, they are for nose. Okay, very simple, right? First line was Adhyatma, second is Adhidaiva, third is Adhibhuta. Adhidaiva governs and regulates the interaction of Adhyatma with Adhibhuta. That is the main purpose of this Adhidaiva. Now let us see the words, it should be easier. We will see part by part. We don't need to see the whole thing together. Tadanim etau, Vishva Vaishwanarau, Dig Vata, Arka Varuna, Ashvibihi, Kramad Niyantritena, Shrotradindriya Panchakena, Kramat, Shabda Sparsha, Ruparasa Gandhan. Next one is Karmendriya, but we'll just stop with Jnanendriya first. Tadanim etau means in this Jagrat Avastha, this Vishwa and Vaishwanara, they have to experience this world. So the small sentence for this is Tadanim etau Vishwa Vaishwanarau. Come to the second last line. Vishwa Vaishwanarau Sthula Vishayan Anubhavata. Only this much. Vishwa and Vaishwanara in waking state experience Sthula Vishayas. But how they experience, for that, this elaboration is given. In between, there has to be devatas which are presiding over these experiences. Tadanim eto vishwa vishwanaro dig vata arka varuna ashvibhihi kramat niyantritena. Every sense organ is governed by one presiding deity. First one is Dig Devata. Okay, so Dig Devata is the presiding deity of directions. Now, why is this Dig Devata assigned only to space or to sound? For this, we have to read Kenopanishad Bhashya. There we had seen how is sound produced. Bhagavan said sound is produced by ahata. Ahata means striking off different locations in our vocal cord, in our throat. When the air which is going out, that is struck at different points, with that sound is produced. All sthana, the place also was mentioned. Kantha, Talu, Murdha, all those places were mentioned. That is why we cannot speak while breathing in. Right? You can speak only while breathing out. So that sound is only a vibration that is created by striking off different points in our throat. Even outside sound also is created in the same way. Some strike has to be there. So the moment you have this vibration, it is traveling. Right? Whenever a thing is traveling, it should have some direction. Right? So this sound has to travel. So the presiding deity of sound is a deity presiding over directions. And each direction has a specific deity. In Sandhya Vandanam, all these names come. Pratiche Dishe, Varunaya Namaha, Vayaveche Vayaveche Namaha, Udiche Dishe, Somaya Namaha, Ishanya Dishe, Ishwaraya Namaha. Means all directions are having one presiding deity. They are the ones who are governing this sound. So one is Dig Devata. Then second one is skin, Sparshendriya. The presiding deity is Vata. Vata means Vayu Devata. You can look at your mapping also, so that you can write for which Devata, why are we having that corresponding sense organ. So second one is Vayu Bhagwan. Without Vayu Devata, without air, you cannot have any sensation. Without air, we cannot have any sensation. In particular in cold countries, right? Or whenever here also it is cold, you wear a very thick jacket. And it is so much in contact with the skin that you, after some time, you lose perception of that. Why? Because air circulation is not there. That layer of air is as though removed. So Vayu Devata becomes the presiding deity of Sparshendriya. See, the main pramana, main authenticity of Devatas is Shastra only. We are using logic based on that. Why could it have been this way? That is all we are trying to understand. We are not trying to create something new. When they are doing some kind of niyamanam, they are governing our perceptions. How are they governing? One is their abilities they are deciding. Right? All our sense organs, they have certain thresholds. Ears have thresholds with decibels. Eyes have threshold with size, colors. Right? Different animals, they might have different abilities. Right? But we are having certain restrictions. That control is happening. And I am not deciding it. Right? So we can safely say some Devata is there who is deciding all these factors. Otherwise, we will wonder, I never feel my perceptions are controlled by somebody else. You say, no, there is somebody who is doing niyamanam. Even their areas of perception, they don't get mixed up. Right? Eyes don't hear, ears don't start smelling. So that niyamanam is also happening. That is Devata only. Okay. So two are done. Ears are done. Skin is done. Third one is Ice. The presiding deity of ice is Surya Bhagwan. Right? So the third one is Arka. Arka means Surya. So why is Surya Bhagwan presiding deity of ice? It says without light, this ice cannot function. And in Panchadashi, there are more details which are given of the same process. Vidyananda Swamiji loves this, whichever point he takes, he will elaborate it so much that you will wonder, how is he thinking so many things? He says, whatever objects you are seeing, they are only reflected light. There is no object outside. You cannot conclusively determine there is an object. When light falls on an object, it takes shape of that object. And that reflected light is what I am seeing. Means he's just questioning us. Perception of world also, if we start thinking, it appears as though this world is not as I'm seeing it. He says you are just seeing a reflected light. So that is why eyes become our sense organ on whom Surya Devata is presiding deity. Okay, Surya Bhagwan. Fourth one is Varuna Bhagwan. Varuna Bhagwan presides over tongue. It means any taste has to come, water element has to be there. Any taste is needed, water element has to be there. And then of course it mixes up with Gandha Guna. I mean Prithvi's Guna, it mixes up, and from that you have a lot of variety. Okay, fourth one is done. Last one is Ashwini Kumaras. Now this one is interesting. Until this point you could explain, right, how this presiding deity is for that sense organ. Now how will you explain why are Ashwini Kumaras the presiding deity of nose? Any thoughts? You can type. Why are Ashwini Kumaras presiding deity of nose? Thinking. By the way, this Ashwini Kumaras, you know who they are, right? They are celestial gods. And they were the ones who came up with this, it is said, this Chavan Prash, the formula for that. In Chavan Rishi's ashram, they were the ones who came up with that. So they have a lot of credits to their name. Very good. Somebody said, because they are twins and there are two nostrils. What about ears then? Good. Ashwini Kumaras prevent diseases. It protects the nose from inhaling germs. Good. So Ashwini Kumaras, it is said, the main prana which enlivens this body, the expression of that is at nose. So when we saw the prana discussion, we saw the main manifest expression of prana is the air that we breathe. So there are two nadis, which they say Ida and Pingala nadi. The one which is nourished by lunar phases, one which is nourished by the sun. So both of them together, they ensure that this health is well balanced. Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. Three nadis which are there. So presiding deity over this prana. So that is Ashwini Kumaras. Celestial doctors, they make sure that all of these functions are very well taken care of. This doctors, they have a symbol, right? I don't know how you pronounce it. I think this is caduceus. The two snakes which are there and one arrow which goes in between. It has a lot of resemblance with these nadis. One is Ida, another is Pingala, third one is Sushumna. One doctor only told me this. I'm not authority in this. He said it has a lot of resemblance, and just whatever we can appreciate to understand this point. Ashwini Kumaras are presiding deity of no sense organ with that. So main thing is they are taking care of prana vayu, the pranas which are responsible for good physical health. Now later is Karmendriya. So now you can do this mapping. We did for Jnanendriya, Karmendriya also the same way. Agni Indra, Upendra, Yama, Prajapatibihi, Kramat Niyantritena, Vag Adi Indriya Panchakena, Kramat, Vachana, Adana, Gamana, Visarga, Anandanscha. I'm going part by part so that we can separate Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas and Antakarana. So now we saw Jnanendriya, all 5 sense organs were Jnanendriyas. Now it is Karmendriyas. So what are the presiding deities of Karmendriya? What are the things that they will interact with? Okay, what are the functions of each one of them? So first sense organ is organ of action, is speech. So for speech, the presiding deity is Agni Devata. Okay, Agni Devata. All of you are with me, right? I'm on the 3rd line of this shloka. Agni Devata is presiding deity of speech. We say that, right? He gave a fiery speech. Means what? Means there was a lot of fire in that speech. And in Chandogya, we had seen the nourishment of speech comes from fire element. With Teja, fire element, speech gets nourished. Okay. Another way, more implied meaning of that is what we had seen in Ramayana class. That speech is something which can give warmth also. It can burn things down also. So main sadhana over here is being careful while speaking. Agni Devata is sitting right here. Both things can be done, and that is that portion, what we are seeing right now. Kaikeyi's speech is on one side, Bhagwan Rama's speech is on another side. Kaikeyi's speech, Dashrath Maharaj will tell her in the next class, that there was this house which was so cool and had so much of shade. To that house, you set it on fire. And Bhagwan Rama's words, on the other hand, give so much of joy. So much of calmness is there. So that is speech, presiding deity. Second one is hands. They are the second organ of action. What does hand do? It will grasp things, all vyavahara. Not only grasping, all transactions, that is symbolic of hands. So presiding deity of hands is Indra Bhagwan. Indra Bhagwan is the presiding deity of hands. Means whatever good things happen, right, through us, it is said credit of that should go to Bhagwan. There is one Puranic story. There was one king who was known for doing a lot of good things. One day he goes in his garden to do something, and he accidentally hits a bird. That bird just falls down, whatever he had done. He was trying to do something in that garden, that bird falls down. Now Indra Bhagwan, he disguises himself as another traveler from a neighboring country just to teach this king a lesson. So he comes and says, "Oh king, you are so great. So many good things you have done." So he takes him around, shows him all the palace. And on the way, he was asking questions. "Oh, you did this? Where did you get this from?" And kings in those days, every battle, they would bring a souvenir from that, neighboring kingdom. So he was very proudly bragging about it. And good work also he had done. But when he comes to this bird, Indra Bhagwan asks him, "Who did this?" That king says, "The presiding deity of hands is Indra. He must have prompted me to do this." Indra Bhagwan is very nice. Whatever good things are there, that credit you take, and whatever is not well, that you are putting it on me. It should be other way around. Indra Bhagwan is the presiding deity of hands. Purusha Suktam, what do we chant? Bahu Rajanya Krutah. Means the presiding deity of Bahu. Bahu means all hands, all transactions. That is our Indra Bhagwan. Now comes a very interesting one, Vedantasara's uniqueness. Next sense organs is legs. First one was speech, second is hands, third is legs. We saw in Tattva Bodha, presiding deity of legs is Vishnu Bhagwan. Padayor Vishnu. Now, Tattva Bodha, we didn't appreciate why Vishnu Bhagwan is presiding deity over legs. But over here you see the word that is used for Vishnu Bhagwan. It is said Upendra. Upendra. Agni, Indra and Upendra. Who is Upendra? Younger brother of Indra. Who was younger brother of Indra? Vaman Bhagwan. You know the story, right? Vaman Avatar, when Bhagwan takes, he says, I will be born through Aditi, but as younger brother of Indra. And in Vaman Avatar, Bhagwan took 3 steps. 3 steps, he covered entire world. Means any step that anybody takes has to come within Vaman Bhagwan's steps only. So that is why Vaman Bhagwan is the presiding deity over legs. These are some, beautiful points. If we can enjoy it, we can enjoy it. Right? So why he could have said Vishnu also, but here he says Upendra, and that is a hint. Indra Bhagwan is over hands. Upendra Bhagwan is Vaman Bhagwan, who is avatar of Bhagwan Vishnu. He is a presiding deity over legs. Upendra. Then comes the Karmendriya of anus, which is responsible for letting go of things. Presiding deity over that is Yama. So you can find parallels, one who lets go of things. So that will be the parallel. And the last one is genital organ. Presiding deity is Prajapati. Vistara has to be done. So for that, Prajapati Bhagwan is the presiding deity. So all Karmendriyas, they are governed by these deities. Kramat Niyantritena, Vagadindriya Panchakena. All organs of speech and everything that is governed. Vagadindriya Panchakena. Kramat, in sequence, they are having these functions. I'm just translating the verse. What are the functions? Vachana, to speak. Adana, to give and take. That is a role of hands. Gamana, to go around. That is legs. Visarga. So here order is flipped. Visarga comes before the next one, Ananda. Okay. So until this point was Karmendriya discussion. First part was Jnanendriya. Second part was Karmendriya. Third will be Antakkara. Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. So all 4 of them, they also have presiding deities, and very beautiful symbolic meaning is there. This is where I had said we will reflect on the word Shankara. Presiding deity of Ahankara is Lord Shiva. And Bhagwan's name is Shankara. So why Shankara is presiding deity of Ahankara? Some more insights on that one. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. One thing to note here is sometimes names will be different for different devatas. Like over here it is said, Ashwini Kumaras for the nose. In some texts, some changes might be there here and there. So you should not get confused. Main thing is Adhibhuta has Adhidaiva. That is why the technical part is very important. What we discussed earlier. Every inert matter has a sentient principle presiding over it. Okay, that we should remember. Vishwa and Vishwasaha, they are not related. Vishwasaha means something else, Vishwa means something else. I mean, Vishwasa means trust. Vishwa means the name that all of us get in waking state, where we are aware of world outside. I'm just looking at the questions if there is any.